Hello everyone, Deb Floros for Jesse James Beads. Let's make the ultimate summer festival necklace. There are two kinds of chain included in the July Magical Mystery Bead Box Summer Festival, and this is one. It's big, it's chunky, it's fabulous. Then there's this little Janis Joplin dainty turquoise and gold. Very lovely. We're going to use that as well. That's going to be an accent for our necklace. And then there's this really cool magnetic clasp. Oh my gosh, and it's super strong. You'll definitely want to use this for this necklace. There's two of them, so you could use another one for another piece. Then there's this faux Cinnabar rose that is absolutely epic. Totally my love language. I'm crazy about it. Then there's this festival mix that's got all kinds of cool goodies. We're going to use one of these stones and two of those flowers. So much fun. First of all, I'm going to lay out the chain and find the center. And the center of this chain is actually one of those discs, which I'm going to take off because I want to reorient that so that it will be a connector to my rose. So once you take that off, save those two rings. Then you're going to attach those rings to a larger ring that will then connect our connector and then the flower. So I'm putting 3 jump rings onto that connector. It's going to make it look like a little bit of a bail. Then I'm going to use those 2 jump rings that I took off. I'm going to put them back onto those little infinity shapes, one on one side because you've got 2 pieces of chain now, and one on the other. And then I've got a really nice big, I think it's about 20 millimeter jump ring. And I'm adding that to my little connector, and then that's going to be the attachment for the chain as well. So we're just adding a little bit of a component so that we can reorient that section of the chain. And now it's a connector, and it'll be part of our focal section of the necklace. So now I want to attach that beautiful rose, and I'm going to use some 18 gauge wire. 18 gauge wire is pretty chunky, so I'm being very careful to make a large enough loop once I've strung it onto that rose so that the rose will move around. You don't want to choke down on that rose because it could break. So you'll want to be very careful. So I'm holding with my chain nose pliers the crossover of that wire, and I'm just creating some wraps around the straight piece of wire, just like 3 wraps. Then I'm cutting off my excess. Then I'm going to create a wire wrap loop up top by using round nose pliers. So I'm just bending the wire back around and then wrapping it a couple of times around the area that's already wrapped from the previous step. And actually, before I do that, I need to connect it to my connector. So I'm putting it through that bottom loop on my connector and then wrapping. And I'll need to reorient that flower, which you can do by holding on to the top of the wire like I've got it, cutting off the excess first, and then pulling onto the rose to make sure it's straight. Now I've got another connection point at the bottom of the rose. So I'm grabbing a head pin and one of those beautiful blue magnesite stones that's got some cool design on it. And I'm getting down way low on my round nose pliers because I need a nice big loop to attach to that flower. Again, you don't want to get too tight on this piece because you don't want it to break. So I've got that nice big loop, and then I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers after testing that out and hold on to my loop and do my wraps around that little stone. And I used a smaller gauge wire. I only used the 18 gauge wire to attach the top of my rose. So that's a really beautiful focal section, but we're going to jazz up this necklace even more. So out of the festival bead mix, you can grab these flowers, and they've got a beautiful red color to match our flower, I'm going to attach them with 2 jump rings to those 2 textured rings that are above my focal section now. And then I still feel like we got to do something more. We got to use this Janis Joplin chain. And I kind of played around with different ideas, but I just fell in love with the look of this. So with some 4mm jump rings, I'm attaching one end of my chain, and I'm not cutting it yet. You'll be able to see what I did to assess the length I wanted to use. So I literally connected one end and then I just kind of pulled it around. I want this to create a very thin drape. So just sitting behind my focal section, just to add a little bit of pizzazz behind that big flower and just adding a little bit more dimension and texture and just a little bit of something extra. So I'm attaching the chain at the other end after cutting. And now I pulled out a few more of the festival pieces, those flowers and leaves. I felt like that was very fitting for this necklace. And I'm attaching with a 4mm jump ring the leaf piece to one end of my chain. And I'm not cutting this chain yet either, so this is what I have left after I cut my drape. And I attached another one to the other end. Then I'm using a slightly bigger jump ring, I think it's about a 6mm jump ring, to the other jump ring so that the flower hangs on top of that leaf. So these are going to be additional dangles on the sides of the focal part of the necklace. So I'm cutting that chain now because I know what the length is that I need. And I did hang this up. So I went to my mannequin in my studio and hung this up and tested out the lengths to make sure that they hung where I wanted them. So you might want to hang your piece so that you get the lengths just right to your liking, because certainly you can customize this piece however you would like. And oh my gosh, these hang so cool. They've got some more dimension, add a little bit of the gold to tie to some of the other gold components. Now I've got that amazing magnetic clasp. It is really tough. So I'm splitting it up and I'm just attaching it with some jump rings to both sides of the chain directly. And you could actually make this necklace longer or shorter if you like by pulling off links of that chain. Look at that, so cool. I love how this necklace came out. Try the Magical Mystery Bead Box Summer Festival. Try it out by going to jessiejamesbeads.com. Become a subscriber. Thanks so much for watching.